Every Canadian deserves a safe and affordable place to call home. Yet, for many hardworking Canadians, especially young people, it feels like an impossibility. There aren't enough places for people to buy or apartments for people to rent that makes finding a good place to live too expensive beyond what people can afford. The measures in Budget 2019 plan to increase the supply of housing because it is the most effective way to address affordability in the long run. You heard it there first. That is a message from the federal government on the Budget 2019 when they're talking about housing. We're going to get right into it, guys. Stay tuned. My thoughts and the highlights of the budget coming up next. Alright, Michael Jacobs here, and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification for more market news. Now, today, as you heard my opening statement, that is a direct quote from the federal government, just talking about the budget 2019. A few highlights we're going to go through. I'll make the link available down below. Anyone that wants to get into more detail with the budget. A lot of items, but we're just going to focus, obviously, on the real estate and the impact that it may or may not have on the market. Now, for those who haven't dived into it just yet, there's a few, obviously, major highlights that everyone's been jumping on, mainly the first-time homebuyer incentive. We're going to jump into that in a little bit, but just to cover some of the, smaller things or just things that are not getting too much, highlights on. They plan on increasing $10 billion worth of financing available over the next 9 years to help build, over 42,000 units for the rental market, and that's across Canada. So obviously this is to help with the, very low supply of what's going on in terms of, available units for people to rent. Now, as many of you know, I love talking about the supply. If you increase supply, that is where your problem lies in affordability. It's not, creating different programs. Like, for instance, they're putting aside $300 million towards the new supply challenge. And that is for all innovators to come and try to essentially bring some new innovation to, Toronto, Vancouver, and these markets that obviously have an issue with supply. Again, $300 million, I guess it's a step in the right direction, but, what that's going to come of, there's not too much on it so far. But, again, supply, demand, I don't think I could say any better than Ray Kroc. Roll that clip.
You increase the supply, and the demand will follow. Increased supply, demand follows chicken, egg. Do you follow my logic? I know you do, because you're a bright, forward-thinking guy who knows a good idea when he hears one. So, what do you say?
Now, knowing that $300 million fund, will not be enough, they're proposing to put together an extra panel regarding the future housing supply and affordability. Essentially, CMHC will put $4 million into this panel and an additional $5 million, this is all in the next 2 years, to put together a state-of-the-art modeling system to help with this. So, I guess, a step in the right direction. You got to start somewhere, but, very vague on what, this panel is going to be talking about in terms of, making strides forward and not just sitting around and discussing, some more policies to maybe implement. That's not going to really, help the supply issue. Now, they also want to crack down on, obviously, all the money laundering, so they're going to set up a lot more audit systems just to stay on top of any fraudulent stuff so that, it's more fairness going on in the market. Definitely a good thing, I think, but, I'm not diving too much into this. We're going to jump right into the main event, which is the first-time homebuyer incentive. That, like I said, a lot of the news reporting is the main topic that everyone's discussing. Now, to help with affordability, the budget is proposing a first-time homebuyer credit which essentially is going to help first-time home buyers get into the market and allow this credit to go towards their mortgage to get their payment a lot less. Now, it's the qualifications are you need to make under $120,000 a year, property value under $500,000. They're going to give 10% credit for new construction and 5% on just regular resale. And the proposal is, anytime you're doing shared equity mortgages, essentially what they're proposing is it's going to be paid back once you go to sell. Now, there's not too much information on this right now, but essentially we're going to go into an example here, a little more insight. So here we have a house price of $400,000. On the left, it's insured mortgage. On the right, it's with the incentive. Now, you're going to need a down payment still. We're using 5% here, so $20,000 on the $400,000. Incentive would give you 10% would be $40,000. Your mortgage on the left is $380,000. On the right would be $340,000. Monthly cost on the left is $1,973 compared to $1,745. So there's definitely some savings there. And anyone who qualifies, you definitely want to be jumping into something like this. Now, my thoughts overall on this, like I said, because they're capping it at $500,000, this is pretty much going to be more applicable, in smaller cities and like in Vancouver and Toronto. You're not going to see too much of this. The ones that do qualify, essentially what's going to happen here is it's going to bid up the property. So a lot more people, the first-time home buyers that are getting into these cheaper properties, over time these properties are going to probably spike up a lot faster than they should. So anyone that's going to be, once they implement this, if they do implement this, you're going to want to jump into something sooner or later because you probably see a spike in this. This is not obviously solving the supply inventory. It's actually, might be hurting it in the long run. So it's something to be careful of. But at the end of the day, something to utilize if you can utilize it based on what they're telling us. The proposal also plans to change the home buyer's plan withdrawal limit from $25,000 to $35,000. So it's obviously allows Canadians a little more access to their retirement savings to dip into that. So that's another positive proposal. So those are the major highlights of what the proposed budget is proposing. And again, I don't really see too much things tackling the supply issue, which as they stated in the beginning, that is what is going to really help with affordability in the long run. The first-time home buyer incentive, obviously great. But could create a bigger issue in the long run since markets like Toronto and Vancouver are already really low on in that price range under $500,000. It's just going to add more demand, so it's going to be interesting. I don't see too much on the supply issue, but again, in my opinion, you got to do a lot more tax incentives for building and developing to get people, because that usually typically works, and it gets people thinking building over resale, and might help with the supply issue down the road. Like, comment, share, guys. I'd like to hear your opinion on this, and look forward to talk to you guys on the next one. Take care.